Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm going to review my first Sonoff Zigbee sensor, which is the SN-ZB01, and that's the wireless switch and Zigbee wireless switch. And I've done a previous video on how you start with Zigbee, how you set up a Zigbee bridge, which is required if you are planning to use any Zigbee sensors. So if you haven't done the Zigbee bridge setup, then I recommend that you watch that video, and I'm going to leave the link for that video in the cards and also in the video description. So in this episode, I just want to focus on how you can set up scenes with this Zigbee button and how you can control other Sonoff devices with it. And as I mentioned in the previous video, this is just a sensor device. Of course, it doesn't have a relay, it doesn't have inputs or outputs, so you need to use scenes in order to link this device with any other Sonoff devices. So you will set up a scene where if this is pressed, then another Sonoff device gets switched on. And at this point, I also want to mention that because we are setting up scenes, this would be something which is happening in the cloud. So these integration and these sensors will only work when you are connected to the internet. So definitely keep this in mind. If you need a switch which also works when the internet is away, you need to look for a different Sonoff product like the T1 or the TX series. Of course, that is not battery powered and it cannot be placed anywhere like this Zigbee button. That's the main idea behind it, because it's not really linked to your mains and other physical wiring. You can just use this double-sided sticky tape and just place it anywhere in your house, and then you set up in the application what device it should control. And if you look at the device, you can see it's a fairly small device. It's probably 5 centimeters square or thereabouts. It has a fingerprint pattern on the top. Of course, it's not a fingerprint sensor. It just basically says that that's where you push, and it has a nice tactile feel. It doesn't travel a lot. Basically, it's probably like 1/2 mil, but you can definitely feel that the button is being pressed. So there is a tactile feedback. And of course, it is operated by battery. And if you remove the back cover, which is a little bit stiff, then it reveals the battery inside. And the battery is a CR2450, which is a slightly unusual battery for me. It's not the usual 3025 or 3032s. So if you are using these sensors, make sure that you have a stock of these or you know where to buy them, because at least where I live, it's not available in every single shop. It comes in a really small box. All the Zigbee devices come in an orange box. You are getting a piece of double-sided sticky tape. You also get this Sonoff QC Pass leaflet and a small instruction manual in multiple languages. And that basically tells you how you get the device up and running, how you remove the tab from the battery, how you set it up with the app, and then how you can use it. I've covered the setup process in my Zigbee bridge video. So if you need a walkthrough, then again, I recommend that you watch that video first. And with this introduction, I think it's time to head over to the test board and see how we can use it in the EV-Link app. In the EV-Link app, I've done the pairing of the Zigbee button, and I've also placed it in my, that's my living room. And when I click on the button, all I can see is the history of this device. So we can see that it got clicked and then double clicked and long pressed. And that also tells us what are the different actions this button supports. So even though you are getting a single button, you can technically use it 3 different ways, because it detects single clicking, double clicking, and then long pressing as well. And if you look at the device details, you see the history. And if you go into the double dots, then in the device settings, you can change the name and the location and the device ID. But that's pretty much what you can do. There is nothing else on the device itself which can be configured. So I think it's time to head over to the scenes, because it's really the scenes where we can influence how this button works. And I think what I'm going to use in the beginning is I'm going to use this Sonoff 4CH and use the button to control the outputs of this device. And I'm going to test all of the 3 features that I've just mentioned before. So I click on the plus button to create a new scene, and in the triggers I click add, I click a smart device, Zigbee button, and then clicked. So if this Zigbee button is clicked, then I want to change a smart device, which is the 4CH, and I want to switch channel on. And Of course, its effective period is 24 hours, so I'm just going to save it, and I'm going to rename this as single press. Okay, good. So we created a scene. Let's see how it works. I single press and channel 1 comes on. You can see there is a slight bit of delay because, as I mentioned before, this is all going through the cloud. So the fact that I click this button, well, wirelessly goes to the Zigbee bridge, that communicates to the cloud over Wi-Fi, and then the command comes back from the cloud for this 4CH to turn the first channel on. Let's test the next one. So I'm clicking plus again, and in the if I click add, smart device, Zigbee button, double click, and on the action side, again, smart device, 4CH, and let's say I want to change channel 2 to on. So I save here, I save here, and that's going to be double press. And I save. Okay, that's done. I was quick. Let's test it. With double click, the second channel comes on. With single click, well, nothing happens because the first channel is already on. So let's create a third scene as well. So if trigger is add, smart device, Zigbee button, long press, save. And on the action side, I also click add, smart device, 4CH. And with a long press, I'm going to switch both channel 1 and channel 2 off. I'm going to save this one as well, and I'm going to give it a name, long press. Okay, and if I long press now, you really have to keep it long, then both of the channels turn off. So as I said, you can use the 3 different actions on this button to control the devices 3 different ways. Or in my example, you can create 2 separate outputs of a device. Well, it can be one device, but it can be, 2 different devices as well, and use the long click to turn on one, the short click to turn on one of the device, the double click to turn on the second device, and the long click to turn them off. But normally this is not the way how you would operate this button, because for a TX, you press the button once and then the device, or let's say the output, comes on, and you press it again and it goes off. But here on the scene, when you specify what the action should be when the trigger happens, you can only set whether the channel should be on or off or keep its value. There is no option for toggle. So I can't say that it should toggle the status to whatever status it is at the moment. And unfortunately, on the trigger side, I can't set up another trigger, because I thought maybe what I can do is, if this button is pressed and if it's off, then it turns it on, and if the button is pressed and it's on, then it turns it off. But I can't specify 2 conditions in the trigger side. So unfortunately, this is the only option for you to do. So you can switch something on with a short press, and you can only use the double press to turn the same device off, or the long press, which for me it's not really intuitive, but maybe in the future this will get enhanced, and on the action side, besides on and off and keep, we would have a third option as well with toggle, because that would enable us to use, let's say, the single press to turn one device on and off, maybe the double press to turn another device on and off, and I don't know, even the long press to turn a third device on and off. But that's not possible at the moment. Maybe what you can use this button is, you can use to turn the device on, and then you specify the inching for that output, so it automatically turns itself off. So for example, this can be used in a hallway. You just press it, then the lights comes on and the light goes off automatically. So you don't have to specify a separate scene to turn the device off. And that concludes my review of the Sonoff Zigbee button. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.